to, cover yourself last night. Just keep covering yourself. I couldn't believe it. There was no light, there was no AC, there was no fan, but the room is very, very chilling. You may have noticed it. Biko, cover yourself very well. I don't understand what this kind of weather. The other time it was heat wave. This time I think it's cold wave. Okay, so let's avoid the waves and live healthy, okay? Thank you. Eat warm food. I try to warm your food, drink warm water, take everything warm. Thank you. Not your doctor, except you pay me consultation fee. Then I'll start consulting. Okay, now we'll have press review coming your way. How many papers do we have to explore this morning? The Daily Times, the Punch, the Guardian, the Daily Independence, the Stay, the Nation, the Guardian, the Daily Trust, and then Blueprint. Okay, so let's take off with the Daily Times. This Daily Times seems to be very busy this morning. So many headlines here. As very much know that we'll take the headlines on the front pages of the newspapers, and then you go get your papers and get details. Tinubu pledges to promote rule of law, thorough-led dissenting voices. Okay, this is what we have on top of the name template of the Daily Times, and there are other ones still there. End bad governance protest. Court freezes 32 individuals, companies' bank accounts. Tinubu should act on calls for new constitution. Anyoko is saying this. And then a business optimism hits new low in July amid rising economic concerns. This is coming from CBN. But the banner headline here today says, Nigeria is sitting on ticking time bomb. And this is coming from a Catholic bishop. You may want to know exactly which of the bishops you pick your paper. Say future of Nigeria depended on how challenges bedeviling her are tackled. Okay, that is under that banner headline. And down here I have this one, article to FG, explain why Oando got accelerated approval in Ajib and Eni purchase. Wow. Okay, with some writers here, slams Tinubu over subsidy scam, rights abuse, and then demands release of detained whistleblower Bristol Tamuno Biefiri. Okay, this is what we'll have for you on Daily Times newspaper. Let's check out Punch. Punch newspaper. September rollout. Tinubu panel Dangote refinery brainstorm on petrol price is what we have here as the banner headline. President's committee refinery to conclude talks on Naira crude supply and petrol pricing. Okay, they are still talking. What they announced over a month ago, they are still talking and not concluding the talk while we wait for a fresh breath from that side. But it's still okay. Yeah, and that's then it done in the front page of Punch newspaper today. Let's move over to Vanguard. Vanguard newspaper. On top of the name templates, court freezes 32 accounts linked to end bad governance protest. And then federal government moves to eliminate malaria, picks Dangote, Odetola, Elumelu to drive efforts. Okay. And then the banner headline here says executive order on medicaments. Federal government yet to implement 2 months after. The executive order on medicaments. So who is, okay, don't worry, we're coming back. Then that's all we are giving you from this Punch. Any other news of interest? No. So Daily Independence is the next paper before we start talking. That body may impede Nigeria's drive to economic recovery. Okonjo Iweala wants federal government to keep public debt within sensible limits. With the writer there, Tinubu optimistic Nigeria will overcome its current challenges. This optimism that is not working. Okay, but the banner headline this morning on Daily Independence says, battle for 130-year-old First Bank may impact its fortunes. investors are saying this. Let's look at the riders. Boardroom squabble threatens 350 billion naira recapitalization plan. And then stakeholders ask parties to shift sword, differ on CBN's role. Okay, down here. Other stories of interest, IGP hands over 20 rescued medical students to their VCs. PDP crisis, but the judge urges gladiators to drop personal ambitions. Okay, Serap asks minister, governors to disclose details of Chinese loans liabilities. As story on page 7. Student loan scheme is for all, no one is excluded, presidency assured. And another story of interest here, say more troubles for telcos, ISPs, as Starlink deepens operations in Nigeria. This Starlink. Okay. Yeah, so Sam, let's start talking, beginning from the first paper that we reviewed, which is the Daily Times, where a Catholic bishop is warning that Nigeria is sitting on ticking time bomb. So what does that mean exactly?
Once again, I think what the Catholic bishops have said is not new to everybody or to anybody who has been in Nigeria and has been following the emerging situation of events in the country. Let's not forget where we are coming from over the years, from the PDP rule to APC first 8 years and now handing over to another APC government. And we want to ask ourselves, how has the welfare of an average Nigerian been when they need access to health care? Do they easily and readily get it? If it is accessible, is it affordable? If it is affordable, what are other issues that are facing an average Nigerian who really require health care? And then when it comes to education, what is the quality of of students that are graduating, both at the secondary, primary, and then another important one, tertiary level? Then let us also go deeper into the economy. What has the economy been saying? What are the indices saying? These are the things that when you look at, then coupled with the policies of government, including their adherence to rule of law and how they approach civil issues in the country. No Nigerian has really been hopeful, even though we are always told that hope is one of the elements of life. But if you take a stock, an average Nigerian, many persons will tell you that there is no hope. So at that point in time, when we are in all-time low in the country, then the question is, what is the way out? So it makes the citizens vulnerable to a lot of vices, and we see it play out: kidnapping, armed robbery, and a lot of other things. And Nigerians become very, very vulnerable, unfortunately, to events like terrorism. Growing up, we know Nigerians to be full of life. And we've always been told that in the past, Nigerians used to be this set of people who are suffering, but they are smiling. But then they were suffering and smiling because they could barely get, they can get food. So they're not even interested in the exotic nature of life. Once they have food that they are eating, once they have where they can lay their head, every other thing, life continues to go. So I think the Catholic bishops, once again, is calling the attention of the government that there is a purpose why government exists. Government exists for the interest of the people. And this is clearly stated. The mandate is given to every government in the Constitution that says that the primary role and responsibility of a government is to ensure the welfare and security of lives of its citizens. And with what is going on, where we hear citizens being kidnapped. And one of the sorry situations that just came up yesterday is some people traveling from Lagos to Abuja in a 21-seater bus somewhere at Kogi. I don't know why Kogi is now that hot spot.
Like the government and the security agencies have never heard that Kogi to Abuja is a flashpoint.
It is a it's a hot spot.
Like they've never heard anything like that. But if you will hear a little, just to protest, just like that, peaceful protest, you will launch all your ammunitions and everything to the street to kill the boys. To kill the youths.
So this is now
you can't move those ammunitions to that place and secure the
so this now questions the priority of government and where their interest lies. I think it is one of the late generals and then head of state of Nigeria, in the person of General Sani Abacha, that rightly said that if insecurity persists for more than 24 hours, then government is complacent, or government has their hand in it, or government is not interested. So why we are saying this is...
so which one do you think we are in now? Complacency?
Looking at it all,
not interested?
The three of them, I think that there are areas where you can pinpoint the hands of government in it. A typical example is almost after 8 days that the 20 medical students were kidnapped, Nigerians were shouting and crying. Nothing. Yeah, the police will tell you that they are trying their best, that they will not give us an update until they finally rescue those people. But for us, the perception did not really show that they were doing anything, really. Even though we are not expecting you to give us the detailed approach of you are doing, but there are some kind of update information that you should be giving. But in that, the police seem to be very silent until the case of PDOM, an investigative journalist came up, that they had to spend more, as in resources that you cannot even imagine to apprehend the gentleman. Some persons would say that they kidnapped him even. But that apart, it was when that happened that then people were saying, oh, so they have the resources to catch and to trace and catch an independent journalist. But the medical students are still at large. Nobody can be able to say this is where they are. It was when that backlash started increasing that I think after the next day that the police said they have found the 20 medical students. So already we ask ourselves, beyond the medical students, what of other students, what of other Nigerians who have been kidnapped that are still in the hands of their kidnappers? What are they going through? So this is not the best time to be a Nigerian. Whether the government listen to us or not, whether they paint the image of how perfect Nigeria is working, sometimes they try to live in they try to be delusional. But it is we, average citizens, that are feeling the pinch of the cost of governance and the kind of food that they are doing and that they are making. And we are telling them that this is not the best time for an average Nigerian. And I think that is what the Catholic bishops once again have reinforced, telling the government that Nigeria is sitting on a ticking time bomb. And if nothing is being done to control it, the first time, the protest that came, the end bad governance protest that came, they were given a month notice. And we saw the way government tried to react to it. The next question is, what that will be coming up next? What will be the impact? And we don't even wish for violence, because Nigeria, with our population 218 million plus or thereabouts, if there is any unrest, I wonder how it would contain, how the whole of Africa can contain that number. And that is why, at this point in time, if the government wants to see a territory that they can continue to govern, then they must listen to the cries of the people and begin to bring up pro-people policies, and not just policies only for themselves.
Okay, talking about listening to the cries of people, and then how governments approach to civil issues. Look at this story here. Bad governance protest. Court freezes 32 individuals' companies' bank accounts. And then I want you to relate it to this. Tinubu pledges to promote rule of law, tolerate dissenting voices. So how do you combine these two? some people that leveraged on their constitutional right to protest and say that we don't want this. This is what we are going through and is affecting us. You arrested them, they are being tried, you even traced, look at that, talking about what that tracing, finding whenever their interest is involved. You trace the account through which they are sponsored and you are freezing it. So you can do this. And we're having this kind of space of insecurity in the country. Now, the president is saying that he will tolerate dissenting voices. Are these protesters not dissenting voices? So how can you match these two, Sam?
Okay, so it's unfortunate that this is happening, really. And I will tell the government that we want a country where rule of law is supreme, because the law was not made for anyone. However, we know the government would always say that some people are sponsoring terrorism. And it is good that it is the court that has given the order for these accounts to be frozen, really. So the next thing is, what would the government do? And that is why when we look at the paraphernalia of government in the country, we are saying let there be complete independence of both the executive, the judiciary, and the legislative, so that they will all perform their duties independently without recourse to any other arm. Having said that, if any man who has a case would have to answer that case, unfortunately. And as it is now, the government cannot tell us that they are going to open their ears to dissenting voices and continue to witch hunt Nigerians who are doing what? Who are primarily fighting, and not even fighting. They are telling you that they are hungry, that you had bad governance that has really nosedived, and then that is the cause of the hunger that is in the land. However, we understand that there are some persons who might also want to use that opportunity to cash in and destabilize the country. At that situation, that is where it is now necessary for the security agencies to be on top of their games and not living a life of blame games. If there are those who are found culpable, they present the evidence, and this situation of Nigerians being made to suffer beyond board should really stop. I mean, a typical example, this is happening worldwide, really, and Nigeria should not really continue to follow what the new or the Western world is doing. Unfortunately, if you come to the Western world now, there are people who are now being arrested because of different free speech, and we don't want Nigeria to. We want Nigeria to have separate, line and approach to it, especially when the present president used to. He was a very, very strong opposition.
An activist.
He was a very strong opposition to Abacha's regime, then that is the military era. He was an opposition to Obasanjo, to Yar'Adua, to, what is it called, to Goodluck.
Any government in
Many
power.
governments. He was an opposition to them. And we did not really hear some of these Gestapo's
measures
approach
taken against
that are not being taken on Nigerians, taken against him. So, once again, let them remember that it's just 4 years, by extension 8 years. We will still sit down as citizens to take a stock of what has happened in Nigeria. And it's unfortunate if they don't get their names in the right book of the people. History would always be there for all of us to tell the story.
Do we even have books here? If we have books in Nigeria where we record this, we'll be having this kind of problems we're having. Let's move ahead. Let's look at Atiku's attack to the federal government, by extension to Tinubu, because he's asking, explain why Oando got accelerated approval on INAJIP and any purchase. Okay, this attack has been on because of the speculations of the involvement of the president on this. So, do you see this as an opposition threat? As some of us are saying that the opposition parties we have now are not doing their work, because we knew what happened when PDP was in power, how APC gave them run for their lives. you know, tried pressing them and pressing them until they were able to press them out of power. Now, all these opposition parties are relaxed and not doing anything. During the time of what they call it, the PDP era, we weren't even having any problems to compare with what is going on now. You have a whole lot of things to talk on, a whole lot of things to, you know, engage the public on as an opposition party, but nothing is going on.
Okay, so once again, like we rightly established earlier, anywhere the government have interest, you see things happen faster in that area. And also understand that every government have their core areas of interest. They have the areas that they want to use to grow the economy, and then they also have areas where they spend their money more on. I think what Alhaji Atiku Abubakar is asking is nothing out of the ordinary. An average Nigerian has the right to know the daily operations of the government, to know the reasons why they are making certain decisions. And unfortunately, they're just saying that perception is even critical more than the action itself. And lately in Nigeria, the perception has not really been good concerning the Malta case, concerning the OVH, where NNPC has now given the right to OVH, a company that is claimed to belong to one of Tinubu's his son or relatives, and is now in charge of the retails of petrols in Nigeria. NNPC has given that to them. Now, this now still brings us back to the initial argument and fears of Nigerians. The question is, are these people Nigerians? Yes, they are Nigerians. Are Nigerians allowed to venture into other areas of the economy? Yes, they are. But why should it be particular people? Why should it be people who are tied or related to the government? Naturally, because of events like this, because the government would not want to smear its name, there are even some concessions that they should not even allow. But this kind of event, where we continue to hear huge steps taken by the government in favor of particular people, is now making us fear our doomsday, where we were told and that we know that the system of governance of the president, when he was a governor in Lagos State, that he found a way to privatize and link his private companies to the operations of the public operations of the government in Lagos State. And that is why he's completely in charge of Lagos State. These are verifiable facts, really. We do not want this to also happen for an individual or a family to own an entire country. So when we ask these questions, I mean, we have our right to be suspicious of you. And when we do, I think what the best thing that the government needs to do is to come out clean. And that is why we are calling for a government of transparency, a government of accountability, a government that upholds rule of law. If you come out clean, then you douse the tension. But for you to think the best way to handle events is to silence out or to ignore the cries of the people, I mean, it's not a good approach, because those questions, and when unfortunately there are unanswered questions, it gives room for people to begin to speculate. And when they speculate, you begin to hear different theories that might not really be okay for the development of the country. And by and large, what really are we even asking for? We want Nigeria to be developed. We want Nigeria to accommodate every Nigerian, and possibly non-Nigerians as it used to be in the past. I mean, that is what we are asking for. We are not asking for anything extraordinary. We are not asking for the head of the president, neither are we asking for the head of anybody. But what we just want is, in Igbo Palace, Hannah Snow, Billy can Billy, live, let me live. So I think the government...
And it's not too much to ask.
It's not too much to ask, actually. And the government needs every attention, every responsibility to give the citizens the response they desire. And I think the citizens are asking these questions. Even Serap is asking the question in another form, and they have been asking these questions. And what they are only doing is amplifying the voices of an average Nigerian. And the government must really listen to us.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's look at other papers before we start looking for the stories to talk about. But in our next paper this morning will be the This Day newspaper. Okay. And on the front page of this day, okay, on top of the name template, we'll have federal government moves to eliminate malaria, taps Dangote Odetola Elumelu to drive efforts to end scourge. Okay, we have seen that story. But the banner headline here says, at NBA conference, Tinubu vows to protect rule of law, tolerate dissenting voices. With some riders, Okonjo Iweala expresses concern about slow pace of Nigeria's development. And then Lagos has more women in judiciary than any other state, says Sanwo-Olu. How does it concern? How does it put that one put food on my table? Okay, and what else do we have here? No, the story of interest. Police shies adherents in bloody clash in Abuja. Some officers dead, several injured. This is a bad trend. Very, very bad trend. They should be clashing with terrorists and bandits and give us peace. Okay, the Nation newspaper, 2 policemen killed during clash with Islamic group in FCT. Let's see if we can get a new dimension to the story. 3 policemen critically injured, 3 petrol vans touched, 52 El Zazaki's men arrested. Okay. I think that's all we're taking from the Nation newspaper. Let's look at the Guardian. Haven't I seen Guardian before? Okay, no, I haven't. And then the banner headline there, always a very busy newspaper. FS execution hishes threatening food waivers policy as farmers kick. I beg you, nobody should be kicking anything. Let's join hands and kick hunger. Serap asked Governor Wike to disclose details of Chinese loans. Wike again. Okay, and then Atiku charged Tinubu over citizens' rights violation. Okonjo Iweala asked politicians to stop weaponizing insecurity. The unholy secrecy of NAS members pay package. 2 killed in Abuja Shites place clash. We have seen that story. Any other story of interest here? Again, terrorist strike in Kaduna, kidnapped district head and 6 others. This is what we keep hearing on a daily basis amidst the hunger that is hitting everybody left, right, and center. Enugu uncovers 2,640 ghost pensioners, begins payments of cancelled pensions. Okay, that's all we're taking from here. Let's look at the rest of the papers. Daily Trust. Daily Trust. Okay. Days after killing Emir, bandits abduct over 150 Gobri. What's going on? What is going on in the north? Okay, IG hands over 20 rescued medical students to Unimed and other schools, okay? Tinubu orders mourn as Emir of Ningi buried amid tears. A court freezes 32 bank accounts linked to end bad governance protest. 2 calls. Trader killed as police chase clash in Abuja again. Okay. And then Blueprint. Blueprint newspaper. Okay, how 2 officers were killed in Chai's police clash in Abuja. Shocker, 12 billion naira, too meager to win Olympics medals. Sports minister. Sports minister is saying that 12 billion naira is too meager for us to win a single Olympic medal for you. So stop making noise that we didn't win any medal. Let's look at the riders. Surrender your account, Federation's chairman Telenor. As athletes, we prepared with our money. Look at that. Oladoye. The athletes prepared with their money, and the minister that was giving 12 billion naira for the Olympics said that is a mega amount. That's why we didn't win any medal. Okay. Acts on calls for new constitution. Anyoko urges Tinubu. I think that's all we are taking from the papers this morning. Yes. Any story of interest to you, Samololo?
It's always interesting, the news that goes on in Nigeria, politically, in our economy, security-wise, and then our welfare as a people. These things, once again, I would say, are happening in Nigeria because the government have completely abandoned the citizens and, by extension, the youths. I would not see, even though it's recently that we started also seeing children who are now wielding arms, be it the unknown gunmen in the southeast, be it bandits in the different parts of the north. It's recently that we started seeing youths and children joining them, and that should completely be condemned. However, before now, we know that majority of the people that are used to perpetrate this act are usually able-bodied youths. So if the government has a program for the youths, and it seems like it is only when you pick up arms and then that is when you are sure that your future is now guaranteed. What do I mean? Look at the amnesty program that the Niger Deltans benefited from. It was as a result of wielding arms that some of them now had the privilege and opportunity to even go outside the country for different kinds of programs where the government called it an amnesty program. And now you see some of them now coming out telling Nigerian youths who wants to protest because of their hunger that they cannot protest. And then you see agitator, the chairman, agitator. I mean, I will not be like, what?
You agitated before,
so
and you don't want us to agitate again.
And because you are now in the government payroll, you don't want other citizens
to agitate to
not even agitate, to even protest that they are hungry. Not even to the extent that you have gone.
Nigeria is a funny place.
So what I'm saying
Very
is,
funny.
I think it's high time for the government to try something new. And what they need to try something new is, we will continue to advise them. We have emerging technologies. What stops us from having these clusters of technologies? Is it tech fair? Is it AI? Let it not be a one-off program, and let it be institutionalized in a way whereby as many youths as possible who are interested can go in there, learn their trade, perfect the skill, and they can decide to practice in Nigeria. They can decide to take it outside, and this is a way that the government can really progress. I want to believe that if an average youth is meaningfully employed, you will not see him carrying gun that he wants to kidnap. You will not even see him come out that he wants to protest. How much more having issues with the police? I mean, that is the point where we'll begin to engage in a civil manner. And when there are events that occur, the police would know how to attend and address them. But now, we understand that it seems like the police are overwhelmed by events going on in the country. So, if they are overwhelmed, I think what the government needs to do is to try another approach. And in this approach, they should put the welfare and interest of the citizens, most especially the youths, at hand. We are not saying they should forget the elderly ones, because these ones have served the country. I mean, this is now bringing us back to what Ayoko is saying. Why should APC, who rode on the back of restructuring, who rode on the back of that the constitution is not favorable, that the constitution is that, and then they even, under the former president, set up a constitution review committee, a restructuring committee, headed by El-Rufai, and they came with their own recommendation. Prior to that, what is it called? During Goodluck's time, that the confab, there was a confab that was conducted. Millions of naira spent, and recommendations came up. Nothing, both the confab recommendation, the government is not looking towards that way. Both, even the one APC did themselves, the recommendation from their restructuring committee, they're not looking that way. And once again, Anyako has gone to the government, of course, two weeks ago or thereabout, with other elite Igbo leaders, telling the government that they should look at the area of regional government once again. But they are not even saying anything around that. They are not even contemplating it. But this was what they were lamenting, calling for in the past. So I think, once again, the government, both the federal level, the states, and the local government, we cannot be complaining that we have headache, and the cause of the headache is hunger. And you're telling me to just take Panadol that is going to end. I think the best thing that the government needs to do is go through the route, solve the issue let us have that conversation, frank conversation as a country. Is it that we are tired? If we must be together, then let us renegotiate while we should be together, so that if we are moving forward, everybody will be carried along. It is only in that our healthcare system can function very well, because people will begin to bring in their own resources to make sure it grows. It is in that education will begin to grow very well. Otherwise, they will just be doing patches, and once a government leaves, that program dies. We have seen many programs of the government that had little or no impact. Once that government goes, even sometimes while the government is in power, that particular program would not see the light of the day. I mean, despite the millions of naira that has been poured in to just make sure that works. So once again, we are calling on our government to listen to eminent Nigerians who are calling that constitution review must be done. Let us look at total overhaul of the system. Part of the issues we're having is system collapse, because some persons are trying to benefit from it and they are strangulating others. How can we continue to live this way? I've asked once again, what is the problem that we are Nigerians? I mean, is it a crime to be a Nigerian?
Thank you. Don't get emotional, please. We're all here and we're all together in this mess, but God will help us at least. Let's see if anything good can come out of this. I'd like to thank you very much for coming this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Samuel Ololo, a public affairs analyst, and that's where we're drawing the curtain on this morning's edition of Press Review. Wake up with us tomorrow morning for our fresh edition. My name is Sijama. Do stand by now as we take you over to the other side of the pond to look at as Chinese investors take over Nigeria's private jets, the implication of all this. Do stand by.